We're living in a world where we're just drowning in information, right? We've got endless facts at our fingertips, but does that mean we're actually getting any smarter? True understanding, that deep down knowing, can feel like it's harder to find than ever. So let's get into that. We're going to use some key insights from the entrepreneur and thinker Naval Ravikant to figure out how we can go from just knowing a bunch of stuff to actually thinking.
So let me just ask you this straight up. When you're scrolling or reading, are you really thinking, or are you just reacting? Reacting based on something you heard before or something you already believe? It's a really critical question because, as Naval points out, most of what we call thinking, well, it isn't really thinking at all. And this, right here, this really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got memorizing. That's just following the rules, regurgitating facts, acting on reflex. It's basically our brain on autopilot in this crazy, fast-paced world. But on the other side, that's where the magic is. That's real thinking. It's about using first principles, really grasping the fundamentals and building a deep, solid understanding. One is just repeating. The other is about creating.
Oh man, the physicist Richard Feynman absolutely nailed this. He had this great saying that, look, you could know the name of a bird in 10 different languages, but when you're done, you know absolutely nothing about the bird. You don't know why it sings, where it flies in the winter, nothing. Knowing the label isn't the same as understanding the thing itself. It's a huge difference.
Okay, so if what most of us are doing day to day isn't thinking, then what is? Let's dive into what Naval defines as the real deal. That big, important shift you gotta make from just memorizing to truly, truly understanding.
So, the bedrock, the absolute foundation of real thinking, is this idea of first principles. This is not about learning by analogy or just doing something because that's how it's always been done. Nope. This is about breaking a problem all the way down to its most basic, undeniable truths, the things you know are true, and then building your argument back up from there. It's like instead of just following a recipe, you actually understand the chemistry of what makes bread rise. That's the difference.
Now here's a twist that might seem a little backward at first. The goal here isn't to just cram your head full of more and more complicated ideas. It's actually the opposite. It's to take the simplest, most fundamental concepts and to understand them on a profoundly deep level. That's where the real breakthroughs, the real aha moments actually come from.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how in the world do you actually do it in real life? This brings us to a super practical, totally actionable habit that Naval talks about, the 1-hour rule.
And the prescription is so simple it's almost deceptive. 1 hour. Just 60 minutes a day dedicated to nothing but thinking. I mean, no phone, no podcasts, no distractions, just you and your brain. It sounds so easy, but let's be honest. In our world of nonstop notifications, it might just be one of the hardest things you can do.
And here's the whole instruction manual. It's not complicated. You find a quiet spot, you put your phone, your laptop, everything away, and you just sit. Let your mind go where it wants to go, wrestle with a problem you've been avoiding, or just see what ideas connect. A notebook can be handy, for sure, but the main thing is just that uninterrupted time for your mind to do its thing. And you can't overstate how valuable this is. Naval calls it the single most important thing you can do for your mind in a day. You got to think of it like a workout for your brain. It builds up that muscle for focus, for reasoning, and for actually generating your own ideas instead of just consuming everyone else's.
Now, if you're going to spend an hour a day just thinking, you want to make sure you've got some high-quality stuff to think about, right? This brings us to the tools you need to, let's say, upgrade your mental operating system.
So Naval recommends 2 really essential tools to feed your mind. First, read the originals. And second, build mental models. Let's break down what he means by each of those.
Reading the originals is all about cutting out the middleman. Seriously, instead of reading somebody's blog post about the wealth of nations, go read Adam Smith himself. Instead of an article about evolution, read Darwin's actual work. When you do this, you get the pure, undiluted idea, and you can form your own conclusions without someone else's filter or agenda getting in the way. And the second tool is building mental models. This just means you don't stay in one little box of expertise. You go out and you learn the big core ideas from a bunch of different fields, like supply and demand from economics, or natural selection from biology, or leverage from physics. It's like building a Swiss Army knife for your brain. It gives you this amazing toolkit so you can look at any one problem from a bunch of different, really powerful angles.
So, we've talked about what real thinking is, how you can practice it, and what tools you can use. But why? Why go through all this trouble? Let's talk about the ultimate goal here,
The real-world payoff for all this hard mental work.
This pretty much sums it all up, the whole process of deep thinking. Its goal is to help you find what's true. Then, the skill we call judgment, that's all about taking that truth and applying it effectively to the real world. And when you put those two together, the result is just better outcomes, better decisions, better work, a better life. It's that simple.
And this is the key takeaway, the big idea you should walk away with. The whole point of this isn't to win a trivia game or to just sound smart at a party. The real goal is to develop superior judgment. It's about seeing the world more clearly, making better choices, and ultimately building a better life for yourself. Knowledge is just the raw material. Judgment is the skill of the master. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought, and it's a direct challenge. Don't just let this be another interesting thing you heard today. Actually apply it. What is the one hard problem in your job, in your life, whatever, that you are going to set aside 1 hour to truly think about today?